How can we make our world a better place for human beings? In our world today, hundreds of millions of people go to bed without having a proper meal. Around the world, 1 in 9 people cannot get enough food to lead a healthy and a productive life. Millions of people are malnourished as they do not have access to nutritious food. More than 820 million people are starving around the world. Hunger is increasing in many countries where economic growth is lagging. Especially in middle-income countries, their declining income challenges people's access to good food. On the other hand, the wealthy nations destroy their excess of food production. The food produced on this earth is not equally distributed. This unequal distribution of resources has caused world's hunger today. Poor nations are being exploited by the rich. The wealthy nations are not ready to share. Therefore, hunger has become a global issue, and more targeted efforts should be made to eradicate hunger and malnutrition. In today's Gospel, Jesus comes forward to satisfy the hunger of a multitude. A large crowd followed Jesus to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus observed that they are hungry. He was moved with compassion towards them. He already knew that they needed food. So he turned to the disciples and asked, "Where can we get enough food for these people?" Then they replied that they would need a big amount of money to buy bread for each of them. Jesus did not want to create some food and give them, but he asked for the contribution of their own. At that moment, a young boy had brought 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. When he was asked to give them to the Lord, he sacrificed his own nourishment. It was a very small thing that he gave up, but he made the total sacrifice of it and kept nothing back. When Jesus took them to his hands and multiplied it, this boy would have been so glad about his sacrifice. Jesus made the thousands of men and women sit on the ground, and everybody was fed as much as they wanted. Finally, they gathered 12 baskets of leftover. This is the way that our Lord works. He asks for our small contribution, a small sacrifice from our part, and then He rewards us with divine bounty. This gospel encourages us to be generous. We who take part in Jesus' mission cannot be just spectators. We are called to commit with our own little contribution, and it is what our Lord blesses and works miracles. In the first reading also, we see a similar miracle. By the Lord's power, Elisha fed 100 men only with 20 loaves. A man came from Baal Shalshad, brought bread and wine to Elisha. When he brought the first fruits of his harvest to the prophet, Elisha asked him to distribute those 20 loaves of barley and wheat among the 100 men. When the servant distributed bread, they witnessed a miracle of multiplication of bread, and they collected the leftover too. Through those miracles, our Lord teaches few lessons for our present generation. Today, we live in a world which is so insensitive to the hunger and thirst of the helpless people. Around the world, hundreds and thousands of people die due to starvation. The first lesson Jesus teaches us is to be sensitive to the needs of the other. As Jesus anticipated people's need for food, today we have to feel the hunger and thirst of the poor around us. Especially with the spread of COVID-19, people have lost their jobs, and because of lockdowns, there are families who eat only a single meal per day. The second lesson is to be generous and to contribute. The boy in the gospel was ready to sacrifice the little loaves and fish he had. Today, are we ready to sacrifice our extra food, resources, time and talents for the well-being of those who are suffering? How many of us shared food and dry rations during the lockdowns? Final lesson is Jesus gathered everything that was left in order to avoid waste. Today, we have to end this wasteful culture. We must take care of what is left without throwing them to the trash can. When you go to certain places, There are heaps of food items and they are thrown away after the event. On the other hand, there are people looking for something to eat. Jesus' miracle of multiplication teaches us that we can make a hunger free world. So let us be sensitive, let us contribute and share, and let us avoid waste. Then we can make this world a better place.